It looks like we have come up to the final two parts of 20 questions. Hi everyone, it's me Gaming Do, and welcome to part 19 of 20 questions. The second to last part. And I'm going to be splitting this into two parts as I film this. It's not going to be a two-part video, but individual filming the scenes for this video is going to be two parts. The first 10 questions I'm going to answer now, and then I'm going to film later the last 10, but you know I've been doing that. I did that the last time, actually, I believe. But anyways, without further ado, here we go. The second to last part of 20 questions, part 19. Number 1, how's your summer going? Not very good. If I'm being brutally honest, it's not good. If you didn't know what happened to me last month, probably the worst thing to ever happen to me happened. And that was the fact that my grandmother unfortunately passed away, and that had a huge toll on me, and that only added to a bad summer. The rest of it is just kind of boring. But really, this added to what is already a pretty below average year for me. 2022 has been a hard year, but my grandmother's death only added to that, and unfortunately it hasn't been a good summer so far. So how is my summer going? Not very good. Number 2, what gender do you want your first kid to be? I would take either or. I think they both have their individual positives. For a boy, I think I could relate with them a little more and we could do more of the activities I like to do. Not to say a girl couldn't, but I guess you could say connecting like father and son in that way. Connecting father and daughter would be the fact that I feel like I gotta protect her at all costs. She's like my princess. I gotta protect her and show her how a man should treat her and just be her ultimate knight, basically. I would do anything for her. But I would also do anything for my son. So honestly, I lean towards acting certain ways to a daughter or a son, but I'd probably act both ways towards them to a degree. So ultimately, I'd say it's a tie. I think both of them have their positives and some negatives, I guess. But I'm hoping within the next 10 years I have a wife, 2 kids. I think I want 2 kids, honestly. Sounds like the perfect amount to me. Nice house, a good job, and few puppies to my own. But as for the question, I really either or is phenomenal to me. I don't really care about the gender. They're my kid no matter what, and I will support them no matter what decision they make and will always be by their side. Number 3, what's your favorite video on your channel? I had to think long and hard about this, but ultimately I came up with the video that I think pretty much changed everything. And that would be GD plush movie Bowser's in the Basement. Prior to Bowser's in the Basement, I had no idea what to do with my channel. I just did the most random videos in the world. I didn't know what direction to go into. But once I did Bowser's in the Basement, I started to get the hang of what I had to do with YouTube and how to film stuff and stuff like that, and my production quality got better. I stopped using that stupid freaking face cam on the laptop. boy, I regret ever using that. That looks so freaking ugly. And I think we all have to thank Bowser's in the Basement for really kicking off a lot of stuff. I can also say my other favorite, which is my most influential video towards reviews, is probably my review towards Brawl in the Family, which is gaining up there to dethrone Swamp Sim Part 1 is my most viewed video on my entire channel. I also like Swamp Sim Part 1, which is probably my favorite video of the early parts of my channel. So, if I had to pick a video that I think changed everything and just defines my channel nowadays, it would be the very first episode of GD Plush, Bowser's in the Basement. Number 4, would you rather live in the Middle East or Sub-Saharan Africa? The thing is, you expect me to say something bad about both of these regions, but both of these regions also have some positives, such as they actually have some pretty damn good countries, like United Arab Emirates and Kuwait in the Middle East, and Tanzania, Kenya, and a bunch of other countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. If I had to pick one to live in, it would be kind of tough because I feel like the Middle East would be slightly more dangerous, but Africa is definitely more poverty-stricken. But ultimately, safety is my number one concern. So I would probably honestly go with Sub-Saharan Africa. I think I'd rather live in Sub-Saharan Africa than the Middle East. Depending on the country. This is tough because it honestly depends on the country. But to me, the Middle East is just really constant desert. Sub-Saharan Africa, you got jungle, you got not a ton, but some big mountains, you got the most unique wildlife in the entire world. So to me, I actually think I would have a good time living in Sub-Saharan Africa. Unfortunately, it's known for a fact that that region is very poor. But if it means I get to live among some of the most beautiful wildlife in the world, and overall, it's not the safest region in the world, but it's safer than like Syria and Afghanistan and other countries like that. Don't get me wrong, there are very, very, very dangerous countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. I just think there's probably less. I don't know. But to me, just because I think of the wildlife and the beauty and overall just different topography, I would probably lean on going with Sub-Saharan Africa. Number 5, what's your favorite pizza topping? Bacon. I could have bacon on practically everything. When I went to Maine in 2013, I had chocolate-covered bacon. I don't regret it. It was delicious. I munched that down in a matter of probably a minute. It was so freaking good. But as for pizza, bacon is my favorite topping on a pizza. Pepperoni's really good too. Mushrooms, I also like mushrooms on my pizza. Those are definitely my top 3 favorites. Pepperoni, bacon, and mushrooms. Sausage is good too. Onions are good too. As for I think pineapple belongs on pizza. I'm going to have the controversial answer and say yes. I kind of like pineapple on pizza. It's not my favorite, but I can totally eat it and be totally okay with eating a Hawaiian pizza or something like that. It's very good. Not my favorite pizza. Not even in like my top 5, maybe top 10, but not even in my top 5. But it's good. It's really good. But if I had to pick one topping to put on a pizza, it would be bacon. Just how salty and savory it is with the cheese and the tomato sauce and the dough. Oh, that's amazing. I love bacon on pizza, and I always have. Number 6, what's your favorite non-rock song? If you guys somehow didn't know, rock and roll is my favorite genre of music. It's practically the only, not the only music I listen to, but it's definitely the top pick. If I had to pick a song that's my favorite that's not rock and roll, I would probably have to go with... That one's a hard one. You know, there's a couple that I'm coming to my mind right now. But if I had to absolutely pick one, I would probably go... That's tough. I'm sorry I'm thinking about this question for so long, but this is a really tough question because I got 2 in particular that I really like, but I want to pick between them, and I think I got it. My favorite non-rock song of all time is actually very recent. It's Sunflower by Post Malone. Not just because it's from one of the best animated movies in recent time, but Post Malone is actually a pretty good singer. For the modern era, I actually kind of like his music. And the other one is going to be Billie Jean by Michael Jackson, my favorite Michael Jackson song. That song is just so damn catchy. But ultimately, I would probably honestly pick Sunflower by Post Malone over that. That just makes me bop my freaking head every time that song comes on. It's amazing. So my favorite non-rock song is Post Malone's Sunflower. Number 7, what's your favorite side dish? This is a very complicated question because it depends on what you're eating for the main course. If it's Chinese food, it's probably going to be an egg roll or those little teriyaki chicken sticks you get. If it's pizza, it's going to be mozzarella sticks. If it's Kentucky Fried Chicken, it's going to be mashed potatoes and gravy for me. But if I had to pick a side dish that I can have just in general with most meals, maybe a bit stereotypical, but I think it would be French fries. French fries just go with so much, it's not even funny. They're delicious, they're crunchy, they're savory, and you can put so many different toppings on them. You can put cheese on them, bacon, you can put ketchup, mustard, mayo. Whatever you want with French fries, you can eat it, and it's delicious. So, if I had to pick a favorite side dish, I would go with French fries. Number 8, are you an indoors or outdoors person? I'm a bit of a mix of both, but really, in a way, not by too much of my choice. I'm more of an indoors person just because It's a little bit hard to be an outdoorsy person where I live because the thing about it is where I live is very mountainous and stuff like that. But to get to the trails to go on hikes and stuff like that, you really gotta walk on the highway, and there's no real sidewalk to it. So it's really hard to get access to there, which means I pretty much have to drive to my local wildlife reserve, which is about 5 minutes from where I live. The problem is pretty much the only way to get to it is by driving because I gotta walk on the highway with pretty much nothing but road. No grass on the sides or anything. It's pretty much, I gotta drive there to get there. So it's not to say I don't like going outside. I love to. I love going on hikes. I love seeing wildlife and seeing the beautiful mountains of the area I live in, but being indoors is just, in general, more comfortable for me. That's where my video games are. That's where my books are. That's where my pups are for the most part. It's not to say I won't go outside. Usually at least once a day I do, even if it's just to go outside and read a book in my backyard. So that's a bit of a tough one. I would lean indoors because I'm just indoors way more than I am outdoors, but I like to go outside at least once a day to get some fresh air. Number 9, do you have any siblings? As of the current moment, and I'm going to guess probably forever, I don't have any siblings. No. So the answer is no. And I'm guessing, unless my future wife and she has siblings counts, then yeah, I probably will. But if that doesn't even count, then I don't think I'm ever gonna have siblings. I just don't really get the feeling of it. Maybe I will. I'm very excited to have some. Well, a little bit nervous at the same time. And Loud House cemented that. No, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, I don't have any siblings, and I'm cool with it. You know what? I'm cool either way. If I do get siblings in the future, I don't think it's gonna happen, but if I do, I'm cool with it. But if not, I'm also cool with that. So the answer is no, I don't have any siblings. Well, yes, I have 5. I consider my dogs my siblings. I love them to death and would do anything for them. And the last part that I'm going to be filming right now is number 10. Who is your celebrity role model? Right now as we're talking, it would honestly probably have to be Tom Holland. And it's just because he's relatable. Especially in the Spider-Man films. You see him grow up in a pretty similar way to how I did. Not quite as tragic as him. I've had definitely some tragic events in my life, especially this year, but you get to see him grow up from a kid in high school to now a full-grown adult, and these Spider-Man films pretty much followed me growing up exactly from teenagehood to adulthood, and that's why I relate to these movies so much, and I have Tom Holland's acting to really thank for that, and I love it. He also seems like a genuinely good person and somebody who works really hard at what he does. So my role model, honestly, is probably Tom Holland. I think he's awesome, and I would love to meet him one day. Some others would be Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., The Rock, and among many others. But I think Tom Holland would be number one. He's just so relatable. Alright, I'll be back with the second half of this soon. Yeah, that's all I really have to say for now. I'll be back. Number 11. What's the tallest roller coaster you've been on? This shows you how much of a roller coaster fan I am. But at 73 feet, it is Invader at Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia. It's only 73 feet. That being said, it was a wooden roller coaster, so it was pretty damn thrilling. It was insane. It was very thrilling, and I had a blast on it. That being said, I pussied out and didn't go on any other roller coaster that day, but if I were to take it back and turn back time, I would go on pretty much every roller coaster there, because I've gained a lot of courage that I didn't used to have. Now, I could pretty much go on anything. I've gained balls, to say the least. But the world's tallest roller coaster, which is Kingda Ka, is in my state, and I do want to go there one day. But for now, the tallest roller coaster I've ever been on is Invader at Busch Gardens. Number 12, go to the theater or stream? So let's compare this. Let's say, what was a co-release movie? Let's compare Black Widow. Would I rather go see Black Widow in the theaters, which came out last year, or go stream it on Disney+? For that specific movie, I would rather stream it on Disney+, because it wasn't Marvel's best film. But if we're talking about somehow Spider-Man No Way Home co-releases on Netflix and in theaters, I'm going to go to the theaters to see that. And as much as I wasn't the biggest fan of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that film, maybe by the visual effects alone, is enough for a theatrical visit. So, overall, it honestly depends on the movie, but for the most part, I try to go out to theaters to see movies. I haven't been to the theaters since Multiverse of Madness, and it's looking like I'm not going to be seeing Thor Love and Thunder in theaters because, just because I usually go to see it with my dad and his friend, Dave, and, they don't really seem too interested in seeing it, and 2 out of 3 votes means that I'm probably not going to see it. I could see if my mom and stepfather want to see it, but they don't really go out to the movies too often. So, I mean, they do sometimes, but not very often, and I don't think they're big Thor fans. And, I don't know, but, the point is, would I rather go to the theaters or stream? I would probably lean on going to the theaters just because it's an experience that's still around that I think could go away one day, and it's going to be very sad, but there's just things that are becoming more convenient. And not only do I think it's going to kill theaters, but it could kill physical media too, which is also going to suck. So I would ultimately go with going to the theaters just because of the experience. Number 13, what's your favorite NFL team? Detroit Lions. I know, laugh at me all you want, call me pathetic, call me the worst freaking person ever. It's just how long I've been with them. Me and my stepfather are huge fans of the Detroit Lions, and I have been since I was like 9 or 10 years old. I've loved them ever since. It's mainly has to do with their quarterback, Matthew Stafford, and, yes, I know, he moved to the freaking Chargers. That's why the Chargers are probably honestly my second favorite team in the NFL. But I would still go with the Lions just because they're a team I feel very loyal to and I want to see them win one day. And do I think it's going to happen ever? Yes. Just not anytime soon. But I think one day we will win a championship. It's not going to be anytime soon, but I think it'll happen one day. Number 14, do you want the cold back? No, 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 no. The cold can stay the frick down in Antarctica. It can stay the frick in Nunavut, Canada, and Alaska. Please. As much as I don't like this time of year because we're in the peak of summer and stuff like that, and, well, that shows you. Well, I had to record this a few times, so sorry about that. That clicked into that window, but anywho, yeah, as much as I hate the summer right now, and it's really muggy out, and especially without the air conditioning on, it sucks. I would take this over the brutal winter where I gotta freaking put on 5 blankets to even be mildly warm, or we get a snowstorm that I gotta freaking shovel the driveway, which is really irritating, or God forbid, the worst thing is an ice storm coming first and then snow, and then the snow just sticks to the ground and you gotta like smash the, oh my God. Winter just has more freaking work to it. What's the worst that happens in the summer? Hurricanes. Okay, you caught me there, but besides hurricanes, what's the worst that happens? Mosquitoes. Okay, you caught me with another one. But besides that, what's the worst that could... Okay, sunburns. Okay. I'm kidding around, kind of. But in all seriousness, I would take all the bad of the summer over the shit that winter brings. So, cold, stay the fuck where you are right now and leave me alone. Number 15, where are all your dogs from? So this means, I can tell you where they were born and where I got them from. We'll start with Clover. Clover was born in New York State, and my stepfather actually got her first before my mother met him in 2008, and, they came together pretty much. So, I met Clover when I met my stepfather. Scrappy, we got in 2008, the year he was born. We got him at a little pet store, despite him being in Montana, which is where he was born. He was at a little pet shop about a half an hour from where I live, in a mall, actually, and we got him, and he was cute. Sad story, we used to have a little miniature Dachshund named Daisy, but she only lived to be about 1.5 years old, which is really depressing and still makes me sad to this day. And really, she didn't get to have a proper life, which is the saddest part, but we got her at a little breeder in New Jersey. Same story, but a different breeder for Abby, who's still alive, fine and well to this day. And then we get on to the Corgis. We got Willow and Luna from the same breeder, different litters obviously, because Willow is 3 years older than Luna. We got Willow from Connecticut in 2018, and we got Luna from Connecticut in 2021. We went on a 3-hour road trip, or 6 hours going round trip from New Jersey to Connecticut, back to New Jersey, but anywho, you get my point. So we got the dogs from Connecticut, and that's where they're from. And, very interesting to me that all except Abby, our dogs are from different states. That's the cool part. Um, and that's what I like the most. What am I trying to say? I'm sort of bluffing because it's late and I'm getting tired, but, all our dogs are from different states, and that's what I think is the most interesting part. Number 16, what's your favorite thing to drink? Honestly, in a way, it would probably be water. You know what? I know it's simple and it doesn't have much flavor, but there's nothing that can refresh you more than water. It just gives you this feeling of, gosh, I'm healthy. And you can put stuff in it to make it taste better, like little drink packets and stuff like that. So, I am definitely a pro water drinker. It's really refreshing and really good, especially cold after you go on a long walk in the hot. It's really good, and I think people should be drinking more water. If we're not talking water, I would probably have to go with regular Coke, or my favorite juice is probably orange juice. I love orange juice. Chocolate milk is good. There's a lot of drinks that are good. I've taken a few sips of some alcoholic beverages. I honestly can't say that I prefer any of them to my favorite non-alcoholic drinks. I think the non-alcoholic drinks just taste better. There's not that bitterness to them that alcoholic drinks have. So if I had to pick a favorite drink, I'd probably have to say water. It's simple, but it's the most refreshing thing you can possibly put into your body. Number 17, what's your favorite Loud House Season 6 episode? The current moment, it's Driver's Dread. This episode is just not 10 out of 10 exactly what I wanted, but it's just good enough to the point where it is a very satisfying conclusion to this arc of Lenny trying to get her driver's license. And I love that in the following episode they reference it, and she got her driver's license for real, and it's awesome to see. So, just by that accomplishment alone, and it being a genuinely good episode with a lot of funny moments, and my opinion, Lenny's best episode since season 3, it brings a lot to the table that I just love. It's a great episode. I gave it, I believe, an 8 out of 10, and that's pretty much where I stick. It's a great episode, and I highly suggest it to Loud House fans that somehow quit on the show. If you somehow quit on the show, that's fine, but maybe give this episode a shot. I think it's really good. You don't have to love it. It's just my opinion, but if you want to somehow get back into the show, this episode I think is a perfectly fine one to get back into. Number 18, what's your favorite Rockstar game? That would be Red Dead Redemption 2. As much as I've played probably way more of GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2 is just the better game. It's so tight in its story and way more story driven. The story of GTA 5 is simple. Well, it's not extremely simple, but compared to Red Dead, it's a simple story about basically this group of thieves who, one pretended he was dead and moved out to Los Santos, and then the one friend found him, and yada yada yada, and this kid sneaks into the one man's house and basically becomes his apprentice, and it's way more simple. I cannot explain the story of Red Dead like that. Red Dead just has so much more to it. The combat system is better. You actually have some challenge with, I wouldn't call it your vehicle, but the thing you ride, where you can pretty much drive anywhere with no precautions in GTA 5. In Red Dead Redemption 2, your horse can get tired, your horse can die, your horse can pretty much do anything. There's a lot more precautions to the game, making it more realistic and overall more enjoyable. So, the one thing I will say is GTA Online is infinitely better than Red Dead Online. But if we're talking about the core story mode, definitely pick Red Dead Redemption 2. So if we're going story mode, Red Dead. If we're going online, GTA Online. But overall, because I'm just a single player more, I would definitely lean on Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 19, are you a morning or a night person? Probably morning. I usually don't like to stay up too late. If I get distracted by something, it can happen, but overall, I like to go to bed at a decent time, like before midnight for sure, and I like to get up before 9 a.m. So I tend to be a morning person. I can totally accept doing a job early in the morning. I don't know. Most people my age could stay up till like 5 or 6 in the morning at a party. I can't do it. I would just fall asleep. Probably less than halfway through the party. Call me a loser, but that's just the way my body works. I have to go to sleep before 12. I can't stay up that late. It's just how I've always been. It's a couple years there where I could definitely stay up past 12, but for the past few months or so, it's starting to get really hard again. I'm starting to get back into my routine of I have to go to bed before 12 or else I'm going to be groggy as hell in the morning and stuff like that. So I lean on being more of a morning person, but yeah, it's pretty much all I have to say about that. And the last question for the second to last part of 20 questions, number 20, what continent do you want to go to the most? Oceania. Or Oceania. I don't know how you describe it, but that's where Australia is, and then of all the countries in the world, Australia is the number one country I want to visit. I've wanted to visit it ever since I was a little boy, and still to this day, out of any country in the world, it's just the one I want to visit the most. In my opinion, it has like the best beaches in the entire world. It's got unique landscape. I know it's mostly desert, but it's like a different type of desert. You got amazing wildlife like kangaroos and koalas and wombats and wallabies and just so many unique animals. And some of them want you to die. They hate you and want to kill you. Very deadly animals there, but that's part of the fun of Australia. And the spiders there are the size of freaking house cats. So, out of any continent in the entire world I'd like to go to, it would be Oceania and Australia. If I had to pick maybe one country to go to per continent, for Asia, I would go with Japan. Japan would be a very interesting country to go to with all the high-tech stuff and all this. It feels like it's 2 decades into the future. Europe, I would go with France. It just seems like the quintessential country to go to learn about all the culture and history. And out of any country right now, France might be the number 2 country I'd like to visit behind Australia. I want to learn about the history and see the Eiffel Tower and try the delicious food. Europe would be France. Africa, would be Egypt. Sort of on a very similar thing with France, where I want to visit because of the history and the pyramids and the Sphinx and seeing the ancient city of Cairo, and just overall, I would like to go there slightly less than France or Australia because it's a little bit hard to get into compared to the other two, but I would love to visit Egypt. South America, I would go with probably Peru. Peru has really nice mountains and wildlife, and just overall is a really beautiful country. And North America, I would pretty much have to go with a tie between the United States and Canada. I've been to both before, that's why it's hard to say. And Mexico has its cool stuff too, but when I think of Mexico, I think mostly of the desert and stuff like that, and I'm a really outdoorsy person. Not to say there's no mountains there, but the wildlife in Canada and America is just awe-inspiring. It's beautiful. And so yeah, if I had to pick one continent though, I'd go with Australia or Oceania. That's my answer. And that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys like this. Sorry for a little bit of a late upload. I've been a bit busy this week. My grandmother's service just passed this week, and I was very busy with that. And then 4th of July was coming up, and I had to get ready for a barbecue. And now I finally got the time to do this, so that's about it, guys. I hope you guys like this video, and catch me in my next video. I don't even know what it's going to be, but I hope to see you there. Gaming Do here. See you later. Bye.